If you've browsed for furniture online or gone to a furniture store recently, you've most likely come across mid-century modern furniture. Furniture inspired by the 1950s and 60s is everywhere today. Through discussion of Australian modernist furniture designers during the 50s and 60s, such as Douglas Snelling, we can truly appreciate the importance of mid-century furniture. Analysing how the Snelling line armchair and the Snelling line modular cabinets presented modern design principles, used modern materials and technologies, and promoted ideals of modernism, we can recognise what it meant to be modern during the mid-20th century. Importantly, we must note the strong international influences such as the Bauhaus that shaped modern furniture design in Australia. Today, Australian contemporary furniture designers, such as Gibson Carlo and their work Confetti, can be seen to have benefited greatly from the modern principles fostered by Snelling. A deeper understanding of modernism through furniture will demonstrate why and how mid-century modern is still so popular today. The end of World War II marked a major turning point for Australian design. On May 7, 1945, Germany signed an unconditional surrender. The war in Europe was over. Advances in industrialisation during the war, from the production of military goods such as ammunition, aeroplanes and machine tools, carried benefits to the economy post-World War II. Domestic manufacturing increased remarkably, with significant sophistication. The post-war economic boom saw Australians spend their money on newly built homes, furniture and appliances. Between 1945 and 1965, 2 million immigrants arrived in Australia under the Populate or Perish campaign implemented by then Prime Minister Arthur Calwell. Among them was European immigrants who brought with them their modernistic beliefs and principles that heavily influenced Australian designers. Australians had endured 6 years of suffering and were determined to rebuild and reimagine themselves. An early adapter of modernism in Australia and one of Asia Pacific's most significant designers was architect and furniture designer Douglas Snelling. Snelling was born 24th of February 1916 in Gravesend, England. Only child of Albert Edward Snelling, bootmaker, and his wife Ethel May Snelling, the family moved to New Zealand in 1924. Following his father's employment across New Zealand, Snelling attended 3 different schools throughout the North Island. Davina Jackson makes note in her biography of Snelling of his academic performance dropping as he progressed through school. However, his interest and increasing artistic abilities remained consistent throughout his developmental years. Snelling's early design work in New Zealand included designing posters and visual merchandising projects with local shops and cinemas. Snelling's increasing familiarity in the design scene afforded him the opportunity to travel to America in 1937. There he worked as a freelancer for film studios such as Warner Brothers. As Jackson states, this journey marked his second key transition from a provincial family childhood to his cosmopolitan adult life. In 1940, mid-World War II, Snelling migrated to Sydney, Australia, bringing along with him his new Californian-influenced modern design ideals. Early designs from Snelling, such as the armchair 1946 and the modular cabinets 1955, are leading examples of modernisation, modernism and modernity in Australia during the mid-20th century. Originally used in Snelling's retail interior fit-out for Eaton Glove Shop, Sydney, 1946, the armchair went on to become one of Australia's first mass-produced pieces of furniture. Snelling's observation that there was a market to produce and sell his chair independently of his commercial interiors was facilitated by the growing modernisation and modernism. As Kumar explains, aided by the war, modernisation is the transformation from a traditional rural agrarian society to a secular urban industrial society. One of the first to embrace modernism's design principles in Australia, Snelling radically altered the Australian furniture industry with the modular cabinets, declares Angus Holland in his Sydney Morning Herald article. The philosophical movement modernism began in the early 20th century, where it rejected traditional values of Western art that came before, embracing new morals by breaking art down into its simplest and most honest forms. The desire for new values was hard-pressed by the trauma endured from the war. People began to question more in life, and the rise of modernity was consequential. Modernity expresses the idea that the present is not determined by the past, especially by the recent past, and to live in the now and the new. The timely combination of modernisation, modernism and modernity saw Snelling's pioneering modern furniture succeed during the mid-20th century in Australia. Modern design principles are evidently apparent in Snelling's furniture. Although the mid-century modern indicates the 1950s and 60s, one must take a step back to 1919 to rightly source the origin of modern design principles. The Bauhaus, a school of design and applied arts, founded after World War I in 1919 by architect Walter Gropius, developed the modern design principles that we see in mid-century Australian furniture. The Bauhaus sought to achieve widespread utopia through new approaches to art and design. Students at the Bauhaus were taught purity of form and to design for a better world through 12 strict design principles, including form follows function, truth to materials, modern machine technologies, modern industrial materials, anti-historian, less is more, and design must evoke the spirit of the times. Following these principles, Snelling freed his designs of bulky ornament features to clean lines, lightweight and uncluttered designs. The armchair and the modular cabinets took up no more than its required space, while serving its full purpose. The customizable conditions allowed the user to maximize the satisfaction of their needs. The modern functionality of the Snelling's designs is a direct expression of the modern design principles form follows function, less is more, truth to materials, and anti-historian. Modern materials and technologies made possible by the industrialization during the mid-20th century offered new possibilities for furniture designers. For Snelling, these innovations provided him the tools to develop the armchair and the modular cabinets. In 1947, Snelling and three partners set up a more ambitious system of manufacturing, functional products, to manufacture and market his Snelling line furniture. Snelling supplied cutting patterns and fabrication blueprints for carpenters at the factory to make the pieces, enabling mass production. This was considered unlike any other furniture production process at the time in Australia. Notably, the lack of upholstery leaves the interlaced webbing backrest and seat as the main structural and aesthetic qualities of the chair. Embracing modernism through modern industrial materials, the webbing is sourced from discarded wartime parachutes. The slender, tapered legs on the armchair and modular cabinets make the appearance of freestanding pieces that float above the floor, to encourage the perception of flow through interior spaces. Utilising local, readily available Australian timbers such as silver ash and Queensland maple with a light varnish, Snelling's pieces stood out from the traditionally dark, heavy timbers. Although not entirely original in concept, Snelling's furniture was crucial in promoting the ideals of modernism, especially designed for social change. The modular cabinets, in which Snelling took inspiration from Charles Eames's modular system, 1940, is noted by Jackson to have challenged traditional marketing of living and dining room suites. Instead, offering each piece individually, it allowed modern buyers to create their own furniture combinations. Buyers now had the ability to purchase each piece at the pace they could afford, returning on different occasions to build their collection. With the rise of apartment living, open-plan living, and lower ceilings, space was now a factor to be considered. Bulky ornamental pieces were no longer suited to Australian living conditions. Modernists placed emphasis on the home being functional for better enjoyment and quality of life, demonstrating the utopian vision. Snelling's stylish, inexpensive, and functional modern furniture encouraged many changes in interiors throughout Australia, changes which aligned with the new modern home, and thus improving living and social standards. Undeniably, contemporary Australian designers such as Gibbs and Carlow have benefited from the modernism design principles fostered by Snelling during the mid-20th century. Founded by industrial designers Sarah Gibson and Nicholas Carlo-Vasitis, Gibbs and Carlow is an award-winning design studio based in Sydney, Australia. They proclaim their work is characterised through their material explorations and sense of personality, which strikes a balance between considered minimalism and a subconscious character. Their functional, clean, abstract and uncluttered furniture ranges can be seen to echo the dominant mid-century modern design principles of form follows function, less is more, and truth to materials. Similarly, as Snelling strived to create designs that evoke the spirit of the times, Gibbs and Carlow's confetti range is an embodiment of the contemporary design movement that is eco-modernism. With increasing importance being placed on sustainability of the environment, eco-modernism is considered the spirit of contemporary times. Eco-modernism embraces nature's model of waste equals food and cradle to cradle, coined by Walter Stahl in 1970s, where design and manufacturing aim to close the loop on materials being discarded to landfill. Like Snelling, who sourced discarded wartime parachutes, a material deemed a waste, Gibbs and Carlow uses 100% recycled post-consumer and factory waste plastic in their 20-part series Confetti. The series, which celebrates the natural texture of recycled plastic, features everything from tables to stools, armchairs, lounges, and home accessories. More often, recycled plastics and new materials are hidden, but Gibbs and Carlu argue that they should be celebrated not only because they are sustainable, but because they can be beautiful and create conversation, a belief that closely relates to the modern design principle, truth to materials. Without the timely combination of industrialization, modernism, and modernity, modern design would not have gained its widespread global success. International influences and their new modern design principles, access to modern materials and technologies, and the desire for social change all played key roles in Snelling's success as a modern Australian furniture designer during the mid-20th century.